When you came in here, there was this palpable sense of presence, of something. So the idea was, how do you preserve that character, that presence, that feeling about this place, which is so unique, so that when we replicated the new paint, we didn't want it to look brand new as if the place had just been done yesterday, but that it would have the same patina of age. So all of our in-painting, all of our reconstruction had to look as though it was as old as the building. See these little lines here? Those are pounce lines when they painted it originally. Here, this is all done with stenciling. And these wire molds, this is the old electricity here. If you take these off, you'll find this exact same pattern and this pattern underneath there. In other areas, there was faux painting. You can see it on the pilaster here. This kind of naive marbleizing effect. And then the capitals were painted in metallic powder and gilded and glazed. And those are the basic techniques. That shows what it looked like. So it just in terms of how bad it was. All of these pendentas were completely overpainted with a solid color. We had to use a scalpel and shave off the layers of paint to get back to the image underneath it, the painted image underneath that.
Me, it's like treasure hunting, going to somewhere without anything but just my tools, and then when I scrape it and then have a design, it's like treasure, big supplies.
So we have to match not just colors but also technique. So like this brush strokes, the line which is not very accurate. So it's not because we can't paint perfect circle, because it was original was done like that. So we have to do that kind of crooked. So it's gonna match the original piece.
Wonderful, it's exuberant. Part of its charm is that weren't really high style. These were kind of folk work, or it wasn't meant to be completely naturalistic. It was more about an impression of things.
These windows are made with glass, but it also has lead, and lead is the thing that holds them all together, right? It's the framing to keep the glass all in one piece. When they're so old, when they're over 100 years old, the lead gets brittle and falls apart and gets weak, and so they get real dirty and a real mess. So what we have to do is get rid of that lead and put new lead in there. There was considerable damage in these windows. Quite a number were either missing or over 50% damage. Of original glass that we are able to preserve, it has to be at least 75-80%. It just shows where all these pieces of glass are going to go eventually. And the glass is cleaned and rinsed and then placed on that rubbing. But all this glass will be put on the working drawing. That gives us our guide. The lead is considered the skeleton of the window that holds it all together. But the extrusion where the glass fits usually is pretty consistent, and it sits the glass in this way, and here's your channel. A unique situation in this project is that there's quite a number of styles, at least 10 different styles of glass jewels. And these are cast pieces of glass, very special and unique in this type of window. Within each jewel, there may be 4 or 5 different colors of the same type of jewel. And we have to replicate at least, I believe it's 600 jewels. So there's quite a few that have to be done. When it's all completed, the size is of course checked to make sure it's going to fit into the opening, and then each joint is soldered. These all have been done. Like this is behind the Bima, window 11.
Yeah.
These are all the balcony kites. These are the ears, so to speak, of the lower entrance windows. These two are new. This is the old stuff. There's very few colors, and it's just the way the artist laid out the combination, the laying out of the colors, that's incredible. That you can work with so few colors and come out with such different designs or different appearances, let's say. And again, just real special windows.
A lot of times it's easier to make a new part than it is to fix an old part, but we like to try to use as much of the original fixture as possible. It's a philosophy, it's an ethic. This piece was a real borderline case of whether or not we could reuse it. The top here had all corroded and split and kind of deteriorated, as had the edges down here. And we actually replaced this piece here and silver soldered this along here, and we're able to reuse this piece. It has a little chip out of it. After talking with the design team, I know that they would rather have us use this piece than replace it. This chandelier probably comes apart in 200 or 300 pieces at least. If you count the little pieces, maybe even more, 400 pieces. Yeah. This is the center column of the chandelier. This is really the body of it. This in here, there'll be another dome underneath here that'll act as the splice, because each arm has 5 lights on it. At the turn of the century and even earlier, people were accustomed to much lower light levels. People got by on a couple of foot candles. That people were used to reading by gas or candlelight, and so they probably thought that it was pretty dazzling in there because there were a lot of sources. These fixtures tell a story, and they've been around for 100 years, and hopefully they'll be around for another 100 years. These are our cultural antiques, and they're really part of an important story in the buildings that they live in.
At Eldridge Street, authenticity to us meant not to erase the history and the use and the fact that this building is a building of people and was used by people. So I really find that one of the greatest joys in this building is it was handmade. As you start to get to see all the little inconsistencies and, as we like to say, all the little aspects that show that people worked on this building, that it wasn't mass-produced and out of a factory. And all of the pendentives have a stenciling pattern in them, and that as we got to one pendentive, the center of that pendentive, instead of having the little floral shape that's in the center of all the others, actually has a little heart. And so one of the artisans was leaving a sign for someone he loved so that they could always look up and know it was there, and when you look at the general overall building, you would look right past it. But leaving the heart exposed, it was not overpainted. Like everything else, it's authentic to the building, and it tells the story of the building, and it'll remain there as it was and become part of the story of the space.
Many of the fixtures that were relatively new introduced light bulbs as the end product, but particularly around the Arc, where the light bulb was celebrated as this wonderful new technology. That is the fixture, just a bare light bulb, and that'll be revealed again using the Edison-type bulbs that would have been here initially. This is the original foundation of one of the interior piers beneath a column supporting the sanctuary above us. And the somewhat more humble underpinnings of this incredibly magnificent structure above